What are you wearing? Are you fashion forward? Hip, trendy, on point? I bet you're wearing blue jeans. Now, why do I say that? Because at any given moment of the day, half the world is wearing blue jeans. You think I'm kidding? Stand on a street corner, blue jeans, blue jeans, blue jeans. Go to church, blue jeans, blue jeans, blue jeans. We produce 6 billion pairs of blue jeans every year. The average American has 7 pairs in their closet, 1 for every day of the week. Now, what are your jeans made of? 2 things, cotton and indigo. They were invented by Levi Strauss and his business partner, Jacob Davis, in Northern California, in San Francisco, for the miners during the gold rush. Those guys, they were crawling around in caves on rocky earth. These were the most sustainable clothing item ever created. Those rivets, they were to hold the seams together. They weren't decorative items. But in the 1970s, jeans became a fashion item. We started stonewashing them and acid washing them. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that that's not really great for the planet. So they're made of cotton and they're made of indigo. Chances are your jeans are made of either GMO or conventional cotton, because 99% of our cotton today is GMO or conventional cotton. Conventional cotton is one of the dirtiest crops we farm today. For 1 kilo of cotton, you have to have 1 kilo of chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, defoliants, so it's easier to pick. And the indigo. Indigo is, like cotton, one of those things that's been around since the dawn of time. The Egyptians used it, the Greeks used it, the Chinese used it. Beautiful blue dye. But about 120 years ago, the German chemical company BASF created synthetic indigo. It was immune to the problems that plagued natural indigo, meaning weather destruction, blight. It was seasonless. It was stable. You could use it 12 months a year and your product always looked the same. Everyone thought this was genius. But it contained chemicals. It was made of chemicals, and among those chemicals are formaldehyde, benzene, and cyanide. I often joke that, you know, in those spy movies when you have like the magic ring with the cyanide pill in it, and you're a spy and you've been caught, and you can take your cyanide pill, well, you could also eat your jeans. Now let's talk about your shirt. I bet it contains polyester. Why do I say that? Because of the 100 billion items, more or less, garments and apparel that we produce each year, 60% contain polyester. Now, polyester was invented in the 1930s and 40s. It was sort of carried on a bit. The laboratories, chemists at DuPont in Wilmington, Delaware, and then chemists in England and scientists in England came up with this fabric in the wave of synthetic fabrics. And everyone thought, it's genius. It's cheap to produce, giving us more fashion for more people, more affordable fashion for more people. Made of petroleum, we got plenty of that. And it was a good replacement for silk, which had been requisitioned for the war effort, for parachutes, and for thread for sutures. But what nobody thought about was the impact of this genius idea. Polyester is essentially plastic. And what we've learned in recent years is that when we wash it, it emits thousands, millions of microfibers, millions for every load of laundry we do at home. Those microfibers have been found in the ice of Antarctica. It's raining microfibers in the Colorado Rocky Mountains. You may have an organic garden in Boulder, Colorado, but it's going to have a thin veil of plastic on it. I read last week that 60% of the air we breathe in London, because there are microfibers in the air, we're breathing them too, comes from our clothes. 60% of the microfibers in the air in London comes from our clothes. Then there's the landfill problem. Because polyester is plastic, it doesn't biodegrade. It just sits there moldering in the earth for thousands of years, like plastic bottles. In all, the fashion industry is responsible for 20% of all industrial pollution and 10% of water pollution. So where does that leave us? What are we supposed to do about this? Well, happily, there are a slew of change makers out there who care about planet and humanity and want to save it and are coming up with new and fabulous ideas to combat these problems that industry, short-sighted, not fashion-forward thinking, scientists and engineers, they didn't contemplate these impacts when they created these genius ideas. Like Sarah Bellows. Curiously, I found while working on my book that most of these innovators and change makers, not most, a good many, are women. Women who care about Mother Earth. Quick sidebar, this beautiful photograph of Mother Earth was taken by my cousin from the space station. Ricky Martin, you can find him on Instagram, Astro Ricky. I think that's Hurricane Florence, which seemed kind of appropriate. So we have Sarah Bellows of Stony Creek Colors, a natural dye company in Nashville, Tennessee. She contracts tobacco farmers to plant their old tobacco fields with natural indigo. She's the first person to do this on an industrial scale in the United States in more than 100 years, because that synthetic indigo wiped out the natural indigo industry in about a decade. Gone. By 1910, there was barely any natural indigo left. So she's brought it back. Now, the beauty of natural indigo is that, like soy, it puts nitrogen back in the soil. Tobacco is one of those crops that sucks it out, like corn, leaves the soil dead, right? No more nitrogen. But like soy, indigo puts nitrogen back in the soil. It also doesn't require pesticides because it's bitter. Bugs don't like it. She can't say that her indigo is organic because with crop rotations of other crops in those fields, she doesn't know what came before and after, but her time is organic. No pesticides, no herbicides, no defoliants. And then there's the beauty of natural indigo. You know how we try to recreate those beautiful colors of nature. We think of Monet's sunsets and sunrises, right? While they're beautiful, they're never as beautiful as the real thing. Natural indigo is the same way. When Sarah walked in those jeans, they were luminous. They were like the fashion equivalent of a sapphire. When I first met her 3 years ago, she hoped to get 1% of the indigo market, because 99.9% of the market today, or at least when I met her, was synthetic indigo. If she could get 1%, that was a big thing. When I called her back 2 years later, she said, you know what, we might actually get 3%. This is really taking off. And she's inspiring other people to do the same. More natural indigo out there, which means we have choice. Then there's Sally Fox, this wonderful cotton farmer in Northern California. She's been nurturing, breeding, and collecting seeds for organic cotton for decades. She's the mother of modern organic cotton. If 1% today of cotton is organic, and a lot of that is because of Sally Fox. She supplies seeds. She keeps those breeds going. Why organic cotton is great is because it doesn't require all those pesticides and herbicides and defoliants or fertilizers to grow. Natural organic cotton actually likes poor soil. It doesn't need water. It likes to be stressed in order to blossom and explode in those beautiful cotton bowls. But cotton, like our jeans, has been manhandled by scientists and big pharma and big agriculture for the last 20, 30, 40 years. Genetically modified and hybrid and treated with chemicals. There's seeds called Roundup Ready that you can use with your Roundup. And it's been bred in a way where it produces 6 times more cotton per plant, which therefore means it needs 6 times more water. That's why cotton has the reputation of being a thirsty plant. Naturally, it actually doesn't mind not having water. It kind of thrives on being starved. Then there's the circularity problem, the landfill problem we were talking about earlier, right? Your polyester shirt. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, we've had a linear way of consuming things. Birth of a product, use of a product, death of the product, landfill. We need to embrace a circular method. Birth of a product, use of a product, death of a product, rebirth of a product, use of a product, death of a product, rebirth of the product. And I met 2 really savvy women who have tackled this head on for the fashion industry. First, there's Stacy Flynn of Evernew in Seattle. She takes cotton, jeans, any kind of cotton, underwear, socks, GMO, conventional, organic, breaks it down to its molecular level, and recreates it, regenerates it in a virginal state. She has a contract with Levi's, and I've seen the prototypes. They're really great. They look like any other cotton jeans, any other denim jeans. And they're scaling up to be commercial. This means none of our cotton ever has to go in a landfill again. It can just be regenerated and used. And then we can switch to organic and not have these plants that produce 6 times more, too much volume, too much cotton, and not have to pour all these chemicals into our earth. Then there's Cindy Rhodes, an American expat in London who has a company called Worn Again. And she's taken on the stickiest topic of all, and that is divorcing cotton poly blends. Remember I said 60% of your clothes have polyester, but they may not be fully polyester. They could be a blend. And that, nobody knew what to do with that, so straight to landfill it went. She, with a Cambridge scientist, figured out how to pull them apart and then regenerates each one. Now, it doesn't solve our microfibers problem. For that, we need to put filters on our washers, and industry's working on that. But it does solve the circulation problem and the landfill problem. We don't need to keep pumping oil out of the earth to make new polyester. We got plenty on the planet we can just keep reusing. No more drill baby drill for a brand new shirt. Then there's Stella McCartney. Stella McCartney, the designer in London, luxury fashion designer, daughter of 2 of the most famous hippies out there. She has always embraced, because this is how she was raised, to be a vegetarian, no leather and no fur. This is how their household was, this is how her company is. When she first proposes to her bosses at Gucci Group, when they first opened her brand, they said, "Are you crazy? We make money with leather. How are you going to make money without using leather? We're a leather goods company. That's where the business, that's the big money maker, the cash cow of fashion, handbags." She said, "Watch me, I can do it. No leather." And she did. All the women I've mentioned, when they went to boards and investors and pitched their ideas, were told they were crazy. But because of their courage and their tenacity and their stubbornness, they carried on and carried through and proved that their ideas aren't only just great ideas, that they make money, that they're good business. Because zero waste is better business. Let's talk about what I'm wearing. I'm wearing a Stella McCartney outfit. Cotton shirt, organic cotton from the Egyptian Nile Delta. A beautiful old variety from the 19th century that disappeared and has been brought back. The beauty of this shirt is when I wear it out, and I will because I wear my clothes to death. The average garment's worn 7 times before it's thrown away, but I wear mine until they fall apart. I can put it in the compost and then use that to feed my English rose bushes. And then there's my suit, made of wool from happy sheep in New Zealand. Now, think about your hair for a moment. When you're stressed and you're freaked out and you're overworked and you're tired, what happens to your hair? It gets stiff, it breaks, it falls out, it becomes brittle, right? Well, same with sheep. When they're in industrial farms and they're squished next to each other in the dark and they're completely strung out in stress, their wool tightens up and it becomes very brittle. But happy sheep grazing on beautiful pastures in New Zealand, beautiful wool. Stella is proving you can do this and make money at it. She's also the godmother for many of these startups I've talked about. She supports them and cheers them on, sometimes invests in them, sources from them. She's helping them become all of fashion, become fashion forward. So when I ask you next time, what are you wearing? You might be able to tell me organic cotton denim with natural indigo, a polyester shirt that's been regenerated. That would be fashion forward. That would be genius.